everybody. My name is Natasha Phipps. I am the CEO of WealthShare, and we're having a quick webinar today. What inspired this particular topic is I'm always surprised how many of us Canadians I speak to who have what I call random amounts in random accounts. And people's money is just sitting there doing very little potentially at their trust company, and they had all these intentions of doing things with them. So the goal of today is we're going to talk a little bit about WellShare, but I'm not diving in super deep. I'm happy to do that anytime if anyone would like to reach out. But today I want to focus on using WellShare or something like us as an investment vehicle for your registered funds here in Canada. What is the steps and process to do that? And what might be also benefits to you as an investor if you are looking at something like WellShare. So we're going to get started here. Before we do get started, I do got to mention our disclaimer. This disclaimer is listed on our website at wellshare.ca. And the main point of this is here today, anything we're talking about is for informational purposes only. This is not a solicitation for investment. We are, going to be talking about potential projections here today as well. But if you'd like to review the disclaimer, please do visit our website. It's 2 pages. That's how long it is. Very quickly, I do want to talk about who we are and what we are all about. So WellShare is a private REIT. REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust, and we're a private REIT located here in Calgary, Alberta. And our mission is honestly pretty simple. It's not super complex. Our goal is to provide Canadians the opportunity to invest passively into multifamily assets, while of course also thinking about where they may want to invest. So we are based here in Alberta. We do target a 12% annualized return, and our core values speak to transparency, accessibility, and education. And those are 3 things that are very fundamental to everything that we do here at WellShare. We do a lot of events such as this and sharing as we go along to help inform consumers out there and what their options might be to invest here in the Canadian landscape. And I think more and more Canadians are feeling the pressure and uncertainty of what retirement might mean, and are seeking ways that they can find accessible ways to information and opportunities. That's what we really want to provide here at WellShare. Here's our team really quick. I won't dive into our bios, but if you would like to learn more about us, please go to our website. But one common thing you'll learn about the team is we're all very passionate about real estate. We come from the real estate world in one way or another. And that is something that kind of leads to our slogan that we are built by investors for investors. And you can also check out, if you'd like, we do have a board of trustees as well. So myself, Rodney, and Monique are all trustees of WellShare, as well as we have 3 other trustees, which is really important when you're looking to invest with something or someone like us in determining who are the decision makers. And for us, we have a board of 6 people. 2 of those trustees are fully independent as well. So we are rounding out that board to make sure that any decisions we are making are always in the best interests of our investors, and that we're bringing different expertise to the table through our board. So real quickly, what is a REIT? We talked briefly about that, but what it allows, it's a vehicle to sort of pool investors' capital toward a common goal. So you'll find in Canada there is REITs for storage, there's industrial, there's all kinds of REITs out there. And ours, of course, is focused on multifamily. But what it allows is you to invest in something that you might not be able to invest in just on your own. Very importantly is the compliance and accountability when it comes to a REIT and what we are required to do. So we are registered with the Canadian Securities Administration. We file in every single province except for Quebec when it comes to the governing bodies for each province. And because of that, combined with the use of an offering memorandum that we use, we can also make our REIT open to not just accredited investors, but also eligible investors. If you are not sure what type of investor you are, you can give it a quick Google, but also our EMDs are here to answer those types of questions for you, because that is a really important component when you're designing your passive portfolio is determining what you might be suitable for. And the EMD team is a great resource if you are unsure about that. The third piece on the slide here is really important and something that is a huge benefit of going into the REIT structure for our investors, which is the annual audit. And so that gives our investors a really good look annually into where's the money going, right? Those annual audited financials are posted every year on the Atlas One site, which is our exempt market dealer, and you can access those at any time with your Atlas One profile. So moving on here, talking about benefits to the investor, there's a few. There's a couple more on a further slide, but real quickly, being able to use registered funds, of course, you have some tax efficiencies that you can take advantage of. Number two, taking advantage of a professionally managed portfolio and a growing portfolio. Being able to access larger opportunities that we may not be able to access on our own as individuals is a huge benefit when it comes to being able to diversify what you are invested in. Just because you're investing in real estate doesn't mean you should have all your eggs in one basket either. So that can mean diversifying by geography, looking at assets in other regions, property types, timelines. There's all kinds of ways to diversify, and we highly encourage you to be focused on diversifying, whether it's in your active acquisitions or on the passive side. So what are registered funds? Most people are familiar with this, but registered accounts here in Canada, most commonly people will think of their RRSPs, their retirement saving plans. This also includes your TFSAs, your RESPs, the new home FHSA, I always get that one backwards, your first time home buyer savings account as well. So being able to invest these funds and self-direct them is something that not everyone knows about. A lot of people have their registered funds sitting with their major bank or institution, which is obviously most common, but you can self-direct your registered funds as well and decide where you would like those funds invested into or what you might like them invested into. And that's something that not a lot of Canadians necessarily know about. You also don't need to take all of your registered funds out to self-direct them. And one thing to make clear is you are not cashing in your registered accounts. You are simply converting them to what's called a self-directed account. So they remain as a registered fund during that whole course of time. You do not want to cash them in and then put them in somewhere else because that will be something your accountant will probably be flagging as a taxable event. So the entire time you want to keep them as registered funds. You do not want to cash them in, but you want to talk to your bank about getting them into a self-directed account. Once they're in the self-directed account, then you can go out and look at what you might want to invest them in. And when you're thinking about what you might want to invest them in, there's a couple things to consider. Number two is what a minimum of a certain investment you might be looking at is, and does that line up with what you have to invest? And number two is the trust account provider that they may work with. So with WealthShare, we are approved with 3 separate trust account providers. Most people are most familiar with Olympia Trust, but we also work with Odyssey Trust and Western Pacific. And so in thinking about the steps, step 1 is getting that self-directed account in place. If that is already in place, great. To invest in something like us or some other private security, you will need to open up an account with a trust account provider, like we have listed. Those companies do charge you an annual fee as well to maintain the account. And so that would be step 2 is choosing one. Now, a little kind of note there is not every private security out there works with every trust company. So there might be a fund and they only work with Olympia Trust or they only work with Odyssey Trust. So making sure that wherever you want to invest is actually working with the trust account provider you'd like to work with. And then from there, it's looking at, of course, where you would like to invest, what is in alignment with you, and thinking about what investments are available to you comes back to knowing your status as an accredited investor or an eligible investor. There are many opportunities out there, especially in the development side of space, that is for accredited investors only. And so knowing what your status is will kind of help narrow down what's available to you. Um, Again, because we have the offering memorandum, we are open to eligible investors as well. So those are the three initial basic steps that you're going to take on your own. Then later on, I'll review what steps would come into place if you wanted to actually invest with us. So those are the first two steps. We're going to get a self-directed account with your institution, and we're going to start looking into trust account providers that you would like to work with. As I mentioned, Olympia Trust is the most, commonly recognized, I would say, but there are others as well. Odyssey Trust and Western Pacific are the other two that we work with. So thinking about some advantages, there's a lot of uncertainty out in the marketplace the last couple of years. There is no question about that. I always find election years as well are very controversial times. So, but there's a few fundamentals that I like to remind people of when it comes to investing your money. And if you're investing with your registered funds, you're thinking long term, right? Like you're not thinking about only a 6-month investment or something. So reminding yourself to think long term and what the long term goal is really important. Number one, though, is most people who are interested in something like real estate or WealthShare, they like the idea of hard assets. So earning returns on hard assets is something obviously that we can offer. A lot of our investors like being able to drive by the properties. Some of them, go by and take selfies and send them to me, which I really, really enjoy. But knowing where your money is actually going and being able to see, feel, and touch it is a benefit of that hard asset. And knowing, exactly where it is something that is important to a lot of our investors. Then when we talk about hard assets as well, I think most people can agree that just having our money sitting in our bank account right now is a terrible idea, and we need to put that money to work somewhere that is going to work against inflation. Otherwise, your value of your money is really just going down, down, down if it's just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. So hard assets is a great way to combat that. Some other advantages, a lot of people love real estate, but they don't want to deal with tenants. They don't want to deal with management. They don't want to deal with any of that. And we get it, totally understand that. And so this is a way you can still get the benefit of investing in the hard assets without having to do any of the work, of course. Number three, the kind of time knowledge matrix. This is a little throwback to Rain back in the day. They used to have this like time, knowledge, money matrix thing. And the time knowledge one is really important, I think, when you're thinking about, how to diversify and finding investments with teams and groups of people that you can align yourselves with that have a different, piece of knowledge that you may have, or have the time to do something that you do not want to do. So thinking about that, what are you, really actively doing, and how can you add to that with passive investments that will bring you that diverse sort of opportunity. The set it and forget it, what a lot of people like about their major institution and their money sitting in their registered accounts with these institutions is they do just set it and forget it almost too much. I would say almost too much, to the point of people have no idea often what returns they're making, and maybe don't even open their annual statement. So really, you can set it and forget it, but you do want to also be looking at it. Like, how have I done the last few years? How is my money working towards my retirement? So set it and forget it, but you still want to look at it. We'll do all the hard work and heavy lifting for you, but I do, still want you to be kind of taking a look at what you have on the table right now in your current investments and see if there's, some tweaks you might be able to make. Number five, in the preservation of capital arena, certainly some of our higher net worth investors, this is a topic that they are bringing up, is preservation of capital is a concern for them with high inflationary times, and how can they combat that, as we noted earlier. So that is an advantage of investing in something like WealthShare. I find these investors are more worried about, not losing their money more than even growing it. Like it's really ensuring that it keeps its value and preserving what capital they have. So growth is great, but preservation is really, really important as well. The last one, benefits of annual valuation. I'm going to take a couple minutes to talk about this because it is something that I think a lot of investors forget about in the passive world. So there's plenty of opportunities out there on the passive side. A lot of them tend to be in development space, in higher risk, higher variable type of offerings, which have their place 100%. But what they don't have is they don't necessarily do an annual valuation. So, as part of our annual audit process, annual valuations, annually with something like WealthShare or other groups like us, there's an annual valuation done or a potential net asset value or unit price change. Most people relate this to like a stock price, right? When you invest with us, we have a unit price. Our current unit price is $12.50. We started at $10. So the unit price potential valuation change every year shows net worth growth annually. And anyone in the lending environment right now, I feel and have certainly seen more and more that to be the important forefront thing at the table is show me what your net worth is doing, show me the growth, what are you invested in. And so when you're thinking about your passive investments, if they are all sitting for 5 years in a passive vehicle that does not provide any annual valuations, you are going to show no growth to those lenders or to your portfolio during the period of your investment. You'll only see the returns once you exit or get out of that. So something to think about when you're thinking about a whole portfolio of investments is maybe, dividing and conquering that a little bit more. Okay, why multifamily in terms of your investment? We don't have a lot of time to talk about this, but really the most important thing here to highlight for what we're talking about here today is the investment into hard assets, which we already kind of talked about, a stable, long-term buy and hold investment, that preservation of capital. But number one and two are really important because a lot of people investing with us do own real estate investments as well. And the commercial or multifamily side of real estate could not be more different than the single family residential side of real estate. And two things to highlight in terms of why it makes kind of a very different type of investment. Number one is the asset valuation and the value of the portfolio. It is not based upon what so-and-so across the street sold their property for, like it is on residential. It is based upon your net operating income. And so the more efficient we are operating these assets that are under something like this, the more valuation it will, of course, seek. So I love that about multifamily real estate because it does give that level of efficiency that you can provide. There's some sophistication to how you can work on your portfolio. But also, number two, the financing opportunities are very different when it comes to single family real estate compared to multifamily. So financing combined with how things are valued is my favorite part. Kind of the better job your operating team does, the better your properties will be valued. Of course, economies of scale are a big one. And when you're investing with us, you're investing in a growing portfolio. So, if you invest today and in 2, 3 years, there's now double the amount of assets, your returns are based off the entire portfolio, not just one asset or a single asset that you might be investing in if you were investing on your own. And to the point about this low risk efficiencies, why that is so paramount is little strategic tweaks or cosmetic improvements to these assets do directly impact your asset valuation. So small things can have a big result in terms of values, rents, all of that in terms of what the market will bear. Okay, where do returns come from for you as an investor? Really quickly, most people think about cash flow first, and yes, cash flow is important, but it's really not the only thing when it comes to real estate. And I would say the most important thing that often we forget about when it comes to real estate is actually leverage. The the returns that are made in real estate as a single family investor or a multifamily investor is really driven uniquely because of real estate, because of the debt that we are getting. We are paying down debt over time, and that provides a predictable, schedule of what the debt will look like, giving you that return on investment. So that combined with passive growth in the market, cash flow, those value add type of things that could be minor in terms of strategic efficiencies to an asset really do pay off quickly. So that is, in a nutshell how returns are made. And then of course at the end of financing terms, there is refinancing as a way to unlock more equity for returns as well. So all of that combined is how returns are made. Thinking about Alberta, Alberta is really standing out right now in the Canadian landscape in terms of being a bit of a, shining light here, I think, for our country that has been driven by being open for business, good opportunities, affordability, lower tax environment, quality of life, a lot of things that Canadians are seeking and have really since COVID times. The COVID, change 5 years ago really shook things up in a lot of ways, and people can work from anywhere now. But the growth that we're seeing in Alberta, driven by population, kind of the follow the people principle, has really proven true. And then the kind of open for business mentality here does provide a lot of diversified economic drivers that is good to see. I think more than ever, our economy is seeing more and more diversification than it ever has before with tech, healthcare, tourism, manufacturing, shipping and receiving, logistics, all kinds of things. Of course, we are still, reliant on the energy sector, but it is a lot more diverse than it has ever been in, my lifetime. So that is really good to see when it comes to feeling like we have a little bit more stability for the long term here. So our strategy for WealthShare, like I said, is simple. We're not taking big risks. We're not taking big swings. We're actually trying to remove variables. So we're trying to look at assets that are just good cash flowing assets in areas that we know do well in Alberta, regardless of the ups and downs in the cycle. So, I've been managing properties here in Calgary for going on 20 years now and have seen every type of market we can see here. And so having that experience as a group in terms of knowing what works all the time, not just what works when things are hot and everybody's really smart, but what works all the time. And that's kind of been fundamental to the acquisitions that we have been looking at. So we're looking at turnkey or close to turnkey acquisitions to really thread the needle between good solid returns, but good buy and hold strategy. We are looking and focused here in Alberta. The only other province we are considering is Saskatchewan at this time. And we don't really have a lot of interest in BC or Ontario specifically because of the landlord laws and the difficulty to sort of manage and execute the way we know we can here. So a quick summary of our offering. I mentioned we are open to eligible and accredited investors. No worries if you don't know which one you are. Our team will help you with that. You can invest with cash or registered funds, like I spoke about, RRSPs, TFSAs, or ESPs, LIRAs. We can accept all of those. We're on a continuous raise is the other thing. Some people ask, like, when are you done? Or wait, like, when is this done? This is an open fund. We are not, closed, so to speak, at any time. So we're constantly onboarding investors and are on a continuous raise to grow a portfolio continuously over time. There is no fees to invest with us. So at your large institutions, you will see management fees there in terms of that are taken out of your returns. That's not the case here. Any of our management fees or fees to operate, everything had been taken into consideration before our targeted 12% return to you as the investor. Other than if there's a trust company being used for registered funds, they charge anywhere from about $130 to $150, dollars a year per account. So you need to kind of keep that in mind. We target a 8 to 12% annualized return. We target 12 And we have a low minimum investment of $5,000. So we've kept our investment minimum low intentionally. We want to be accessible. We want people to get started. We especially want the younger generation to start investing in real estate. And the rate of home ownership is only going down. And I have found kind of a lot of people maybe intimidated by the private markets, the private security space. And we really want to try to make this more accessible. And our current unit price is $12.50, as I mentioned. Here's a quick snapshot of our current portfolio. We won't dive into them in terms of, where and what they are, but it gives you a really good idea of the types of assets that we're looking at, apartment style or townhouse style, new or new-ish. The first two are actually court-ordered sales, which we've done very well on. And the third one in Edmonton there was our most recent acquisition. So a quick why invest with us? We got the low minimum. You're investing in us as your expert management team, and the targeted and diversified passive returns hopefully is aligning with something that you are looking for. Our 2 years of returns behind us. In 2024, we did 12.6% audited return. 2023 was 11.1%. We didn't quite have a full year in our books for 2023, but we are very proud of these returns that we have delivered thus far. So, how to do this, how to invest with us. Our investments are facilitated through our exempt market dealer, Atlas One. Atlas One is there not because we want to send you off somewhere else. They're there for very good reason. They're there to protect your interests, to have a third party make sure that this is a suitable investment for you, that you get all your questions asked when it comes to risk, the accredited versus eligible status, and overall just general support for you on your investing journey. And so they can meet with you, answer any questions you might have. They have a whole marketplace, Atlas One, where you can look at all kinds of different offerings on there. But here's a quick snapshot of how to invest with us. You're going to make a profile with Atlas One, just with your name and email. Michael, if you're here, if you could throw the link in the chat, please.
Yeah, for sure. Happy to.
That link will tag you as one of our investors, so you'll get noted inside of our platform. You're free to browse the platform as well once you're on there, though. But on there, you'll be able to see all of our offering documents, which are important if you're looking to invest with us. So you'll see the audited financials, like I mentioned. Our offering memorandum is on there. You can also submit your investments directly on there. There's a link to our EMD's calendar on there if you'd like to meet with them. And the platform is pretty cool. It will allow you to submit an investment directly on there, upload your photo ID and everything like that as well. And since we're talking about registered investments, you will do the first 4 steps on your own, or they can help you. For registered investments, when you go to click an investment, it'll ask you if you're investing with cash or with a registered account. You'll just click registered account. And then from there, that will trigger someone from Atlas One to reach out to you to go over the next steps in terms of aligning your trust account with your investment. So they will help you every step of the way should you need or have any questions. And everything is done digitally via DocuSign these days as well. So that's a quick overview. I'll put the offering back up here as well. One thing I do get asked about is, how do we get paid? One really unique thing about WealthShare is all of the assets and the investment in them is owned by our investors. Us as the operators we are facilitators and managers of this company, but we do not own a share of the assets. The assets are our investors. So that begs the question, how do we get paid, of course? So we do have fees to operate the fund, of course. We invest alongside with you as well. And we are the issuer in this example. Now, please keep in mind, these fees are already accounted for. They're not taken off your return. That is a common question I get. They're already accounted for, and we get fees for acquisitions, for financing, and an overall management fee, of course, to oversee everything. And then the last thing that's in it for us sort of is a performance bonus. We only receive a performance bonus if we hit a minimum 8% preferred return to our investors. And we would receive a 20% bonus of the cash distributions that year if we were able to check those two boxes off. So that's what's sort of in it for us in the long run. Dealer fees we have to disclose. This is basically what we have outlined in our OM in terms of what we can pay exempt market dealers or other capital raisers to bring investors to us. Very rarely do we ever, I don't know if we even have hit the 6% fee, but we could. That's what we are allowed to do up until now. But generally speaking, we are not at that amount. And then I'm going to put up, there is a QR code here if you'd like to schedule a call with us. I highly recommend, even if you just want to poke around, go on the Atlas One website. You just need your name and email. It's not a big commitment. And there's no like big high pressure sales team here that's gonna hunt you down. But we are here to help and to answer any questions that you might have. Is there any questions? Okay. I see Michael has put the link there in the chat. If you're watching the recording, we'll put the link in the description box. But we,
Natasha,
yeah,
right. I
yes,
do have a question.
sure.
So I know that I'm not an accredited, I'm an eligible
Okay,
investor, and I know like what my maximum is for a year because I've previously invested.
great.
Would I still need to go through Atlas for this, or do I
Yes,
come straight to WealthShare?
good question. So all of our investments must go through the EMD.
Okay.
And like I said, it's not because we want to, pass you off, but it's actually required because we are working with eligible investors. It is best practice and the law to have an exempt market dealer in place. And so even if you don't need the advice or guidance or whatever, they're still gonna, walk you through the process. If you're submitting, say, a amount on the lower side and they review everything, like often they don't necessarily need to meet with you directly, but if it seems kind of unusual or like a large amount for an eligible investor, then they will meet with you one-on-one. But if it's kind of straightforward, that's kind of up to their discretion based on the information you provide.
And what about having a different uh, market investor? Sorry, but somewhere on besides Atlas. That's what I'm asking.
Uh,
Like, I
right now, we're
know,
only working with Atlas One.
okay, got you.
Yeah.
That's what I needed to know. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, good question. Right now we're only working with Atlas One. There's some offerings that aren't every platform. We have been Atlas One since day one. They know us really well. We have a great working relationship with them. And I also quite like their platform. So for now, we just work with them directly. And there's no
Okay, thank
fee
you.
to you to go there or anything like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
All right. Thank
Uh,
you.
which year? Which year the price per unit was $10. Oh, so when we first started, it was $10. So 2023 was technically our first full year that we had the annual return. So at the beginning of 2023, it was $10. Then we went to $11.10, and now we're at $12.50. So $12.50 was the unit price adjustment earlier this year in February or March. It was, I think it was March. Digital One, no. So Atlas One is the exempt market dealer. Um, the trust account providers, do I have it listed here? No, I don't think I do. The trust account providers that we use are Odyssey Trust, Olympia Trust, and Western Pacific. And really what their job is to ensure that your money is going to somewhere that is CRA compliant for registered accounts. That's their largest job. And so when someone like us wants to work with registered funds, you have to use a trust account provider. And then if you want to use investment from eligible investors, so non-accredited investors, then you have to have an offering memorandum and you have to use an exempt market dealer. So there's it. So some offerings you may have one or the other potentially, but Atlas One, there's no fees to go on there. It's just a name and an email. You'll be able to see everything on there, and then your trust account provider We can also help you with that if you need help with that. Our exempt market dealer team can also help you get that set up and put you in the right direction too. Good question. I know it sounds like a lot because there's like WealthShare and then there's the trust account provider and then there's Atlas One. Um, and there's kind of multiple pieces here, which is sort of why I want to do this because it does sort of seem like a lot. The amount of time it takes to set up your, Atlas One account is literally a few seconds to validate yourself on there. You do upload your photo ID and they make sure that you're a real human and that you're who you say you are. And so once that is set up, that's done. With the trust account, you can even go right on Odyssey Trust or Olympia Trust and create an account on there. So it's not a big time crunch. The largest time constraint with all of these steps is typically transferring the money from whatever institution they're already at. So let's say today I want to invest $10,000. I'm going to take it out of my RRSP, from whichever bank I'm at. I already have my Olympia Trust account set up. And what happens is there's a letter of direction sent from your trust account provider to your institution. That can take anywhere from days to months to do that transfer. So that is the point where we've got everything done and now we're just waiting. So, but it's usually weeks. It's usually a few weeks to kind of, get that transfer done. But this is why I really want you guys to lean on the Atlas One team. If you do want to go through this process, they'll walk you through everything step by step, and, not kind of get ahead of ourselves and make sure that we are helping you with this every step of the way. So it's not a huge time crunch, but sometimes it just takes a lot of time because we're waiting for the bank. That's usually the longest part.
Um, one more question.
Yeah.
So I did get an email from the last time I attended one of your sessions. I got an email from Michael. So do I just sign up now with Atlas One and then uh they will get me in contact with you guys?
You can work directly with Michael. So Michael's actually here. He's our internal investor relations specialist. So he will help make sure if there's any questions between you and Atlas One, he can help guide you through the process as well.
Okay.
He doesn't work directly for Atlas One. He works here at WellShare, but he can help you too. So if you're already in touch with Michael, even the link that he put in the chat here, if you make a profile there, that will link you also back to Michael. So
Oh,
either
okay.
one
Gotcha.
is fine. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good questions. Okay, well, if there's no further questions, I think, just last kind of words we are excited to grow. We have our first kind of few years behind us and it was a big journey to get to this point. We are just under a few hundred investors here at WealthShare and really excited to be growing this community of people and where kind of we'll go here in the next few years. But as always, we are here to help you. We always are open to sharing anything and any questions you may have. So if there's anything you want to know about, please reach out, let us know. We're here to help and would love to have you be a part of our growing community here. And yeah, let's get those registered funds to work, guys. If they're sitting there doing nothing, do something with them, even if it's not with WellShare. Just don't let them sit there in your bank accounts. Not getting to work for you. So this is kind of your call to action to do something with those if that is the case for you. So that's everything I have for you guys today. So I will leave it there. Please reach out and I really thank everyone for being here today.